Bada beam, bada boom, ladies and gentlemen, the news just keeps on coming from Spider-Man Miles Morales. And today, good googly moogly, thank goodness for the lovely folks over at Game Informer, because they dropped a megaton of news on all of us for this particular game. We're going to discuss some of those details. I will link to the Game Informer article and issue so that you can go on ahead and pick it up for yourself if you would like to go on ahead and give it a read and take a look at some of the more nuanced elements of the reveals. But with that in mind, let's go on ahead and actually discuss what we learned. So we learned both technical elements and we learned a whole lot of story elements. Plus, in addition to that, they did actually reveal a brand new costume, which is super duper exciting, and we got a much better picture of the tracksuit in action within the context of the game. And I will say that the tracksuit looks a lot like pretty much a Miles Morales advanced suit now that we get a much cleaner shot of it. To me, it has kind of a similar vibe. It's almost like the advanced suit and the tracksuit were designed by the same company, which I guess it has because Infamous or Insomniac made it. But yeah. All right. With that in mind, let's rock and roll. Let's start with the technical details. So first and foremost, what we learned is the game will indeed go on ahead and have two different variable running modes. And what does that mean? Well, you're going to be able to actually play the game in two different modes. First of all, will be the performance mode. And what I'm saying, by the way, when I'm referring to the game right now, we're talking about the PlayStation 5 version of the game, because they did discuss some elements for the PlayStation 4, but on the PlayStation 4, obviously, there's going to be some less fidelity, there's going to be less frame rate, there's not going to be quite the same visual particle and ray tracing elements that you will get from the PlayStation 5. So keep that in mind. Now, with that in mind, on the PlayStation 5, there will be two modes that you can play the game in, which is the performance mode, and then there will be the fidelity mode. Now, in performance mode, you will go on ahead and be able to play the game at 4K with 60 FPS. So that sounds obviously pretty awesome. Most likely the way that I'm going to go on ahead and play the game. However, if you want to take advantage of the new ray tracing technology that they use, as well as more visual effects being included within the experience of the game, you can run the game in fidelity mode. Now, if you run it in fidelity mode, you will go on ahead and drop from 60 FPS down to 30 FPS. You still have 4K resolution. However, you obviously will also benefit from ray tracing and what they refer to as more visual effects to go on ahead and basically make the details of the world even greater and obviously make the visual fidelity of the game better. That's why one is called performance mode. So you're prioritizing more so the performance of the game in terms of the FPS that it's running at, versus the other one is more so focused on the visuals and the fidelity of the game itself. So that is obviously pretty exciting. Now, with that reveal out of the way, they did go on ahead and also give us a few other elements to consider for this particular title. And it was as follows. There will be no loading screens. So that is insane. Or sorry, for the PlayStation 5. Again, the PlayStation 4 version will be exactly the same as we saw for Marvel Spider-Man. So you will get a mix of basically like tip and advice screens, and then the, those subway transition scenes that we had in Marvel Spider-Man. Same thing, but for Miles Morales this time. So that is exactly the same. And there will be pretty much similar loading times, I'm guessing, to that what we expected in Marvel Spider-Man. I can't imagine that somehow it will be like much faster than Marvel Spider-Man, because after all, it's still the exact same hardware running even more probably greater engine in terms of details and such. So because of that, again, your experience will vary if you're playing on the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 5. On the PlayStation 5, however, again, you do get the benefit of no loading screens, which is insane. That sounds so exciting, and honestly almost sounds too good to be true. So I am looking forward to seeing what that will be like. As someone that has just recently played Crash Bandicoot 4 and really started to be like, this game had really bad optimization for loading screens, like really took a while to load into a mission, especially if you die, you immediately have to reload or you have to load a new level, and it really took a while. But it looks like the idea of loading screens will be an idea of the past, starting with this next console generation cycle, which is super duper exciting. Now, of course, as I had mentioned at the top, as far as some story reveals, we did get an idea that we will indeed see Miles Morales go up against Rhino, which was something that I was pitching way back when we actually even heard of this idea of a Miles Morales game. I had pitched, I said, I really hope they go on ahead and go back to the whole mission that we saw play out between Miles and Rhino, where we saw that Miles Morales didn't have any powers at the time, and he really could not offer a fight against Rhino. You basically had to cower away and run and be able to just avoid the menace and the absolute wreckage of Rhino. Whereas now, you're going to be able to go on ahead and actually face off against Rhino with superpowers in hand, ready to bring him a fight. So that is obviously super duper exciting that we will see that story element that was kind of planted in the previous game in Marvel Spider-Man explored further in this game. It's also interesting because some of the details that they pointed to, it looks like this might happen relatively early. So the matchup between Rhino and Miles must occur earlier in the game probably than in the latter half, which is super cool. And the reason why we know that is because a lot of times he was seen wearing the kind of homemade suit that was actually just revealed yesterday, which if you haven't seen that video, go check it out so that you are up to date with those details. Now, we have obviously known about the idea of a pre-order suit, speaking of suits, I guess, that will be known as the tracksuit. So this is one of the pre-order bonuses, will be this tracksuit for Miles Morales. We now get a much more dynamic shot of that particular suit, looking very, very, very cool. It definitely has, at least for me, a little bit of like Spider-Man 2099 white suit combined with like the advanced suit sort of vibe. Really cool design, looks super duper dynamic. Every picture that we've gotten of that suit up until this point was pretty low resolution, and so it's kind of difficult to actually judge the design very well. Now we get a much more high resolution dynamic image, so obviously it's a lot easier to actually have an opinion on it, and boy oh boy does it looks absolutely stellar. But that's not all, because not only did we get that suit, we did then go on ahead and get a ridiculously epic brand new suit, one that I had never even seen in the comics. So I don't think that this is something that was seen before. I think this is an original suit that will be created for this game, and legitimately I'm going to refer to it as DJ Morales, because to me it has kind of a DJ vibe with like the helmet that he's wearing, the design overall, it looks so sick, just a really cool design. And I cannot wait. I really hope that as we continue, hopefully getting more of these reveals and hopefully more of these Spider-Man games down the line, I really hope that we see Insomniac, who I previously earlier in the video called Infamous Games, but Insomniac Games continue to develop some unique original designs, because I think if you just let them run with it, I really think they could come up with some really sweet looking costumes. And this right here is totally a perfect example of that point. The last point that I do want to touch on that was kind of interesting, of course, if you don't know, the Tinkerer is kind of rumored to be the main villain of this particular storyline. Again, some people think that there's got to be a bigger enemy, so we'll see, of course, as we get closer to the release of the game and the actual, I guess, more details being revealed, and will there be teasers, or will they just keep all that away from being spoiled until you actually play the game? Time will tell. But the point is that one of the big rumors that had occurred was that a lot of people were saying that Tinkerer was actually going to be Yuri Watanabe. That was the rumor. People were saying that from Marvel Spider-Man, they would carry that character arc that happened throughout the game, and then of course really played a huge factor in the DLC for Marvel Spider-Man, will then be carried through into Miles Morales, because Yuri Watanabe would take up the role of the Tinkerer. So the interesting thing is that the Game Informer article does point to the fact that the identity of the Tinkerer is still unknown, so they didn't have any like type of spoiler to drop and say like, oh, this is who the Tinkerer is, which is good. But they also did say that the character seems to be younger. So I don't know if that's supposed to hint that it's going to be a character like Miles's age or something like that. Is it going to be a character that maybe is like a rival from school or something? But it would obviously put a bit of a spoiler on the whole concept of this being Yuri Watanabe. So an interesting detail that I picked up on that I felt like would be really important to go on ahead and mention here, so that you guys would be notified of that as well. And so with that in mind, there you have it. Those were kind of the key elements that were covered in that Game Informer article. Obviously, they covered some more details that you can go on ahead and check out in the article itself. So I will link to that in the description box below. Of course, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to make sure you do not miss out on any updates. Because, for example, you might have missed yesterday's video. Go check that one out. You can see the epic new homemade suit. And then today, we get a better look at the tracksuit. Today, we get to look at that absolutely ridiculously epic DJ Morales suit. And boy, oh boy, I cannot wait for this game to arrive. We are now less than a month away. Whoo, man, oh man, the hype cycle for this game has now begun. And let's get excited because in just less than a month away, we'll get a brand new console and we will get a brand new Spider-Man experience. I'll hopefully catch you guys here next time. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Peace out. See you later.
Hope you guys enjoyed
Bye-bye,
that
guys.
video. And just a quick heads up, don't forget, guys, if you'd like to support the channel furthermore, beyond just leaving a like, consider becoming a member of the channel. Members do get exclusive perks like exclusive emotes. In addition to that, you do get priority in sub-game streams as well as custom game streams. Plus, you would get access to the exclusive channels over on the Discord server. Thanks a lot for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!